Good day. Welcome to another edition of Ebima Mungo's Perspective on Global Affairs. Before I continue, I urge you to please press the like button. And if you're new to my show, I also urge you to subscribe. I'm doing another show today because we have breaking news. The breaking news is that President Trump has ordered a strike, a bombing operation in Nigeria. He says it's an operation that targeted militants in Nigeria, but it's an operation he has been warning of anyway for a while now. He's been a crusader for the well-being of Christians in Nigeria, and he has just announced through a tweet that there's been an operation in Nigeria. This is the tweet that President Trump shared today, and the tweet says, "Tonight, in my at my direction as Commander-in-Chief of the United States launched a powerful and deadly strike against ISIS terrorist scum in northwest Nigeria, who have been targeting and viciously killing primarily innocent Christians at levels not seen for many years and even centuries. I have previously warned these terrorists that if they did not stop the slaughtering of Christians, there will be hell to pay. And tonight there was. The Department of War executed numerous perfect strikes, as only United States is capable of doing. Under my leadership, our country will not allow radical Islamic terrorists to prosper. May God bless our military, and Merry Christmas to all, including the dead terrorists, of which there will be many if their slaughter of Christians continues." So President Trump has taken action. He has taken action, and this action, we don't know if it is in conjunction with the Nigerian government, or if they coordinated with the Nigerian government, or if they carry this action alone. Because over the course of the past few days, or indeed, we've been hearing signs from the Nigerian government. But maybe it may be important to put forward the tweet that may have caused this indignation by President Trump. President Trump had said sometime in October when he put out this tweet, and this is what he warned then. And that's the tweet he's referring to. If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns are blazing, to completely wipe out Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. I am hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and swift, just like the terrorist thugs attacked our cherished Christians. Warning, the Nigerian government better move fast. The Nigerian government did move fast, though, I should say. The National Security Advisor of Nigeria actually went to visit P. Hexet, and Nigeria has been sending representation to America. And just this week, it emerged that there was a story that came out that was highly circulated, that the Nigerian government had settled its diplomatic spat with the Americans. Because since this operation started, since President Trump's tweet, there's been a lot of representation. There have even been congressional meetings where Congress was trying to weigh in on this matter. And there's been even visits to Nigeria. They've met with the Chief of Defense Staff of Nigeria. They've met with the National Security Advisor of Nigeria. But this had been ongoing, and nobody expected this particular attack to have taken place, because these meetings were going on. And but we got to know that something was in the offing. Reuters reported that U.S. was conducting surveillance plans over Nigeria after Trump's announcements and all his threats. So they had been mapping Nigeria, and there's a little history here for one to know. These problems with militancy has a history, and it has a time that it really got to be very bad. But going back, let me try to get some of the timelines regarding the attempts by the Nigerian government to try and make peace, try and give the Americans a better understanding, a better reading of what has been happening in Nigeria. When Ribadu, his name is Nuhu Ribadu, the National Security Advisor of Nigeria, had gone to visit Piteske. Piteske put out a tweet actually, and he said, yesterday I met with the Nigerian security advisor and his team to discuss the horrific violence against Christians in their country. Under Porto's leadership, the Department of War is working aggressively with Nigeria to end the persecution of Christians by jihadists. This is a very critical information there because it says with Nigeria, the scourge of Islamic terrorists and kidnapping and all this insurgency, I can even call it like that, or but mostly the insecurities in the northern part of Nigeria, it was exacerbated following the events that happened in Libya. For those of us who analyze geopolitics, we can put a timeline to this. Between March of 2011 and and October of 2011, America carried out a brutal campaign against Libya. One of the things that Libya was known for is that Libya had a large cache of Soviet-era weapons. Most of those armaments and armories were broken into and became available to a lot of miscreants, including adventurers who call themselves Islamic State. But a lot also went into the militant group in Nigeria that is called Boko Haram. Boko Haram, we know them for one very, very infamous action they carried out in 2014, and that was their kidnap of almost 300 girls in a secondary school in a town called Chibok. There, most of those kids were also Christians, and later on we got to find out that they kidnapped them and took quite a lot of them. The Chibok event was a global event. It was one that sparked response from even Obama's wife, Michelle Obama, was a campaigner in trying to free the Chibok girls. There was a lot of backlash against the Nigerian government because they felt that the Nigerian government didn't do enough. But what the Nigerian government was saying at that time was that the armory available to the Boko Haram was quite beyond what they had seen. And indeed, the scale of military assets that these militants now had, they broke into quite a lot of militant groups. In the Sahel there, they got the Tuaregs, they also got a hold of these weapons. They also got the Islamic State in West Africa. That became a very big problem to most of the governments in West Africa. They were outmatched in many regards because the armory off of Libya's weapons that was now available. After all, Gaddafi was known to bolster himself. He had border problems with his neighbors, and he got Soviet tanks, Soviet weaponry, Soviet planes, and he was even at one time touted to be trying to get a nuclear warhead, a bomb. So that's the kind of investment he made in the military. But there's been a lot of chaos in that country for a while. And before General Khalifa Haftar got order, there was even a civil war. We saw what happened with that country. That threat is still there now. That country is still having problems, and for several years now, it became a route ultimately for migrant movements into Europe, and it became it's still not a functioning status at this moment in time. But the legacy they left is that they've transformed the whole of the Sahel. We should understand that coming off of this breakup of Libya, the American government now moved towards trying to get a reading, a control. They wanted an investment, and their AFRICOM Center now had a base in Niger Republic. They tried to have that base in Nigeria. The Nigerian government was very, very adamant. They weren't receptive to it. And what now happened was they went and put it in the Niger Republic. Unfortunately, just a few years ago, about a year or two ago, that base was forced to be closed because the militants have changed the whole of West Africa. What had happened was that they became so strong. The traditional guardian of these Sahel states, all of them being French, used to be France. But they even overwhelmed the French because the French legion in the French contingent in most of these countries were not very big. They couldn't engage with them, and they chose safety over trying to be get in full head on into trying to take out these militants. It was a problem that has led to coups in Mali, coups in Burkina Faso, and coups also in Niger Republic. The whole of the polity of the Sahel has been changed, and this military involvement that it made America to now have this big base built for $100 million in Agadez. They ran it for quite a while and they had some operations. Unfortunately, in Niger Republic, even Americans had a problem once when they were ambushed and they were killed. So these militants have become a big problem. But beyond the militants also, in Nigeria there, another group of people got hold of weapons, and these are the Fulanis. Traditionally, the Fulanis are the headsmen that they are the itinerant or the nomadic headsmen who move around, but they also got to have a lot of these arms, and it sparked quite a lot of Christian versus Muslim problems in those Christian communities that tended to be settled and farming communities in Benue State, Taraba State, and Plateau State. So this has been a big problem, but suddenly it has exploded. In recent times, there's been massive wave of kidnaps. The latest wave of kidnap was one that involved almost 300 students in a school in Niger State. This kidnap was one that, in the midst of all the representation to America that the problem is not directed at Christians alone, but it is a big problem that Nigeria was facing. There was a kidnap, and this kidnap was one that was brought more cry about what is going on. Most times, this kidnap is in Christian schools. It's the Christians who tend to want to have their girls educated, their children educated. It's not to say that the Muslims don't, but they tend to have these schools. And this was a Catholic school, which is what exacerbates all this, which makes it worse because they are Christian schools. And eventually, just this December, a few days ago, we got a report that 130 of them had been released and there was celebration. So this campaign now by President Trump has come out of nowhere. We should remember also that beyond the fact that they have changed, now the military governments have taken over in Mali, they have taken over in Burkina Faso, even in Chad, and France has actually lost its footing in the whole of the Sahel. And who did these countries called to come and help them? They called the Russians. They actually did. First of all, they contracted the Wagner Group. So the Wagner Group was who was looking after the security of these countries until they too were called back into their country for the services. And we know what the Wagner Group did in the Ukrainian war, especially in Bakhmut. So they have been the ones helping security, not only in the Western countries, the West African countries I've just mentioned, but even in Central African countries like the Central African Republic, the Russians have taken up security and they are engaging these militants. These militants and very, very head-on. The Russians have come back now in a new iteration. Maybe they are still contractors, maybe it's the new Russian army, but they are very involved in trying to protect the Sahel countries. But as regards to their involvement in Nigeria, it's a really complex thing. It has overwhelmed the government in the past few days. They have tried their best in trying to make sure that they can get a handle of it. And this is very sad, at a very sad time too, because the government in Nigeria tends to be they're very sensitive to religious distribution of any kind of things, their cleavages along religious line and their accusations also, especially as the president and the vice president are both Muslims, they feel that they are not sensitive to the plight. But I can say for a fact that these militants, either in the northeast or in the northwest of Nigeria, tend to be very brutal to whoever they are going after, even if they are going after Muslim communities. So it's a very complex thing. They have the Islamic community, Islamic State in West Africa. They have the Fulani traditional, and then they have a lot of other brigands who are just there. Cattle rustlers too are also a problem. And it's a whole suite of brigandage. But it has gone to a level now that is really, really overwhelming the Nigerian state. And this is what has led to President Trump taking action. We will get to know more about this particular action. Peter did in his tweet that I just read, he said something about working with the Nigerian government. I don't know how that is true. I don't know if it is something the Americans have done about working with the Nigerian government on this particular operation. But I should also point out that this is not the first operation that America has done in Nigeria. They have actually bombed some militant groups prior to now. The exact date and the particular group is off of my mind, but this is not by any means the first time. But we know that America is President Trump is very interested in trying to take care of the Christian community in Nigeria. One thing I should point out, President Trump is very popular among the Nigerians, very, very popular, despite all his actions against Nigeria. He has been popular. He has a high popularity rating in Nigeria. This action is sanctioned by a lot of people, but the tendency for patriotism also comes in because the Nigerian government has been saying that their sovereignty should not be infringed. A lot of politicians are not happy with this action. They argued it and they debated it in the Nigerian parliament, and it is left to see how people will react going forward, especially as President Trump has been taking some very strong measures against African countries and Nigeria too, putting partial immigration bans, blocking them off of certain benefits and taking them off all the suits of benefits that had been available when they were democratic-leaning presidents, including as recently as recalling the ambassadors who he feels were Biden-era or democratic-leaning ambassadors recalling them back to America to put those ones that are closer to his way of thinking. But one thing I should know is that President Trump has been trying to change the way America engages with Africa. The other day, Marco Rubio was talking about now they'll be very, very involved in trying to help African countries in healthcare, in all those other forms of engagements that America has been passing through NGOs. The Trump administration is not happy with the NGO industrial complex, as he calls it, and they just recently signed a new five billion health engagement program with 5 African countries. So it's quite a complex thing. We see all the actions President Trump is taking against Africa, as many Africans would say that it's not is biased against Africa, is biased particularly against Nigeria. He has a special axe to grind with South Africa, but he has taken these actions. It may be popular among many sectors in the Nigerian populace, especially those ones who feel that government has not been very sensitive to their plight, and then it will definitely engender a lot of response from some of those other parts of the community that if you're a Nigerian, I'd like to hear your own thought. I'd like to hear your own viewpoints and how you feel about this attack by the President Trump. We don't know what weapon systems we use. My conjecture that it may be the MQ Reaper. The MQ Reaper was the weapon systems that was very much involved in the Agadez. The Agadez station there was an MQ Reaper station. This is the MQ Reaper. It is one of the most deadly weapon drones that the Americans have. They were very good at using drones. So I don't know if it is drones. I doubt if they would have used planes like the F-35 or F-16s. That's a long journey, but so my suspicion is that it may have been a strike through using drones. But whatever it is, we're going to get more details about it going forward. Well, this is a special edition, so I would like to stop here. If you have any views regarding the opinions I just expressed, please put them in the comment section. If you also have more updates, breaking news updates about this breaking news, please put them also in the comment section. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Do well to like and share. Until my next video, you have a good day.